Hey everyone, it's Luke here from LT Gaming and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm looking at the top 18 Warhammer 40,000 games to play in 2024. This is a monstrous list in response to the Warhammer Skulls Festival which kicks off today. So it really should act as your ultimate guide of what games to pick up during the festival. It's a follow-up list to one I did around 6 months ago. I've just expanded the ambition greatly. And even if you're looking at this list after the festival has ended, it really should act as the ultimate guide to 40k games in 2024. Okay, let's jump into another epic list, and remember, in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. Look, I did that on the last list and I just wanted to do it again, don't hold that against me. First up, I want to get a couple of honourable mentions out of the way, and the reason these aren't included on the actual list is that they don't run particularly well on modern systems. I have to talk about the Dawn of War Master Collection. Now I picked this up on GOG and it runs quite nicely, but there are definitely some resolution issues, and I'm going to look into getting a mod or a patch to try and get it to run in widescreen. The game brings back a lot of nostalgia for me and is still a really fun experience overall. Then I want to quickly mention 3 older titles that you can also get on GOG. They are Warhammer Epic 40,000 Final Liberation, Warhammer 40,000 Chaos Gate, and Warhammer 40,000 Rights of War. All of these are classic titles that you can pick up and get running on your system today. Now, of course, they are older and they come with certain problems, but you can get a lot of enjoyment out of them, and I think they're really good to own just to understand how Warhammer 40,000 games have developed over the years. Right, LT gamers, make sure to like, comment and subscribe, especially if you're new here. We always appreciate you and it's great having you along for the journey. To kick us off, we have 2018's Warhammer Mechanicus, where you get to take control of the most technologically advanced army in the Imperium, the Adeptus Mechanicus. When this game first came out, I struggled a little bit with it because it was very text and reading heavy. I do actually enjoy those sort of games, but for some reason, I just didn't have the patience at the time. However, I went back to it and the fact that it runs lovely on Steam Deck is a huge bonus and brought me back to the game. It's certainly a very high class and unique strategy game. The game is clearly appreciated by the fans and sits at very positive with over 92% approval rating on Steam. Coming up next, we have Space Hulk Tactics, which is a faithful adaptation of the classic board game Space Hulk set in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. It adds a unique twist to the beloved formula, allowing players to engage in intense battles as a squad of Terminator Space Marines or the deadly alien Gene Stealers. Now, this is a game I first played on the Xbox and I really enjoyed it, and I've recently picked it up on Steam also. It does get a bad rap and I don't understand why it's only mixed on Steam when it's actually a really fun game and a nice adaptation of the board game. As many of you know, I'm a big fan of turn-based tactics and turn-based strategy games, especially on the wargame level, and Space Hulk Tactics just really reached out to me and was a fun experience. I enjoyed it. I think you should check it out too, especially in a deep sale. Next up is Warhammer 40,000 Boltgun. This game is where you get to load up your Boltgun and unleash the awesome Space Marine arsenal to blast your way through an explosion of sprites, pixels and blood in a perfect blend of Warhammer 40,000. So far I've only logged around 3 hours on this game, but it's an absolute explosive retro blast from the past. It's a total gore fest, and honestly, on Steam Deck, it's a real joy, and I see myself logging a lot more hours into this one. In defense of my playtime, I've actually only owned the game for 24 hours, and I've been playing it exclusively on Steam Deck while the kids were annoying me, and it was a really great distraction. I see myself going back, trying different difficulty levels, and also trying to find all of those elusive secrets. The fans on Steam clearly agree with me as it sits at very positive with an overall 88% rating. Now look, I don't always go with the consensus, but if you are a person who likes to, it's always nice to see this backed up by Steam reviews. Next up, we have Battlefleet Gothic Armada 2, which is the latest real-time strategy game adapted from Games Workshop's renowned tabletop game, depicting the epic space battles set in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Ultimately, this game has a pretty cool premise, and it's fun to play overall, although I did find it frustrating in some elements and quite difficult to play. Honestly, I'd pick this one up for the single player campaigns just to enjoy the lore and the experience, and I'd probably give the multiplayer a miss because it's not really my thing, but if you enjoy that, it's another bonus to the main game. Next on the list is Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine. This game is an absolute classic where you get to play as a Space Marine, Captain Titus, who is a member of the Ultramarines chapter and a seasoned veteran of countless battles. I remember this game when it came out in 2011 as an absolute instant classic and really enjoyed the vibe, the destruction and the gore. The reason I think it should be included on this list in 2023 is the fact that we have a sequel coming, and it would be great to play through the original to remind you of all the 40k goodness this game contains. Once again, this is totally backed by Steam reviews, very positive with an 88% overall rating. If you want to play this one on the move, it is playable on Steam Deck. There is some issue with small text, but overall is a great experience. Warhammer 40,000 Dakka Squadron Flyboys Edition delivers blazing orc aerial combat across the battlefields of the 41st millennium. In this fast-paced aerial shooter, you play as an orc flyboy, taking to the skies to do what orcs do best: fight. I don't think we're supposed to take this game too seriously, but it does have a lot of great elements with an orky campaign, in their own words, and fantastic voice acting and dialogue, which unveils a plot that captures the grim humour of the Warhammer 40,000 universe. So if you fancy barrel rolls, snap turns and boost to avoid enemy incoming fire and want to have a laugh along the way, check this title out. Moving onwards, we have Warhammer 40,000 Armageddon, which is a hex-based turn-based strategy game where players lead the Imperial forces of the Armageddon Steel Legion and the Space Marines against an orc invasion. Now this one is a particular favourite of mine. It has very simple graphics and presentation, but the gameplay is extremely immersive. We all know that on this channel I really like war games, and I think that this is one of the best Warhammer 40,000 war games that we're going to get. Back when all I had was a simple laptop, this gave me hours of joy, and it also runs extremely well on the Steam Deck, although you're going to have to modify the controls to be comfortable. But if you're looking for a classic hex-based war game, you can't go far wrong with this one, and Steam agrees with me, very positive with an over 80% rating. If you do manage to get into this one, there are also a number of DLC to add extra scenarios, and they ended up making an entirely different game called Armageddon Orcs, which also I really enjoy, so check that one out as well. Next up is a fairly unique title in Warhammer 40,000 Shootas Blood and Teef. From the creators of the Guns, Gore and Cannoli franchise comes a new 2D run-and-gun platformer. Warhammer 40,000 Shootas Blood and Teef, you get to lead an orc invasion, obliterate the Hive City, and take down your war boss. Here we go. The game is essentially a hand-drawn 2D action-adventure taking you on a wild ride of Dakka, gore and explosions. It looks like a lot of fun, and I haven't actually got my hands on it yet, so it's one I might pick up in the sale. It's fully verified on the Steam Deck, which is important to me, and overall on Steam is rated 87% with a very positive rating. Moving onwards, we have Warhammer 40,000 Darktide. Reclaim the city of Tertium from relentless hordes of bloodthirsty enemies in this intense and brutal action shooter. Warhammer 40,000 Darktide is the latest co-op focused adventure from the award-winning creators of the Vermintide series. As Tertium crumbles, rejects will rise. I initially played this game when it came out in the review phase, and I ended up not reviewing it but did a first impressions, and it is a fun title if you're into the co-op mentality. But I think it has run into a lot of problems, in particular an RNG mechanic which a lot of players criticise in the Steam reviews. Overall, not really my cup of tea, but a high quality effort if you want a co-op shooter. We now have an absolute classic game on the list in Warhammer 40,000 Dawn of War 2. It goes back all the way to 2009, but there is no denying that this set the bar for Warhammer 40,000 games, and to this day it remains a really fun experience. If by some small chance you haven't played this game, then it's a fast action RTS that builds on the original experience. However, it innovated by being very focused on individual squad tactics. There were also some really great multiplayer modes, including Last Stand, which Tom was an absolute ace at. To this day, the game is a wonderful experience and really does age quite well. Once again, it is very positive on Steam, and you can play this on Steam Deck, but it does have a few issues that you need to work around. Next up is a virtual reality title that I actually played on the channel, and it's called Warhammer 40,000 Battlesector. Welcome to the grim darkness of the far future, where you get to experience the war-torn universe of Warhammer 40,000, brought into jaw-dropping, visceral reality for the first time in VR. Immerse yourself in a gripping, action-filled story spanning the galaxy. I actually really enjoyed this title in VR and thought that the sense of scale for the Warhammer 40,000 universe was pretty epic, and it's fun to play as the Battlesectors. But overall, it's dropped to mixed on Steam at around 69%, so do consider that when picking this one up. Exploding onto this list is Space Hulk Deathwing Enhanced Edition. This is a first-person shooter based on Games Workshop's cult classic board game set in the Warhammer 40,000 universe, expanding upon the original game and featuring a host of new content, new features, and a richer multiplayer mode. Now, this game is a lot of fun for people who enjoy action, but it can get quite manic, and I know me and Tom played it in co-op. He wasn't a fan, although I did enjoy the base game. But it's very full on, but if you like first-person shooters set in the Warhammer 40,000 universe, this is a great game. There's lots of challenge in this one, and you can team up with other players, and overall it's rated mostly positive on Steam with a 71% rating. Hopping onto the Warhammer 40,000 list next is Inquisitor Martyr. Enter the chaos-infested Caligari sector and purge the unclean with the most powerful agents of the Imperium of Man. Inquisitor Martyr is a grim action RPG featuring multiple classes of the Inquisition who will carry out the Emperor's will. This is actually a pretty good action RPG with a lot of expansion packs, and it's playable on the Steam Deck now also. I think the key aspect of this title is how much it's improved since it first came out. It really has made some serious progress. Pick this one up if you fancy an action RPG set in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. It's rated mostly positive on Steam with a 74% rating, and also is playable on Steam Deck. Warhammer 40,000 Sanctus Reach is a 3D turn-based strategy game that stands out with its fast-paced, immersive and deeply engaging gameplay. Experience stunning visuals and endless fun as you battle through a dark era of carnage and warfare. Lead the Space Wolves in a desperate fight to defend the last bastion of mankind. Now that sounds pretty epic. This is a great game brought to us by Slitherine, and is actually one of the only games in recent times that I completed play by email with, and I actually won, which gave me a great sense of achievement. If you enjoy this game, there are also a number of expansion packs, and I plan on picking up Legacy of the Weird Boy myself. I already own Sons of Cadia, and I've had a huge amount of fun playing this title. I highly recommend it, and it's rated very positive on Steam with an overall 86% rating. Blasting its way onto the list is Warhammer 40,000 Chaos Gate Daemonhunters. Lead humanity's greatest weapon, the Grey Knights, in this fast-paced, turn-based tactical RPG. Now, the thing that blew me away about this game when I first played it was the presentation. The graphics, the explosions, and the sound are absolutely on point. The game is challenging, it makes you think, and it also rewards people who are patient and enjoy coming up with successful strategies. There are some massive fights in this game and some brilliant sound effects. Honestly, this one really captures the spirit of 40k for me. Now, I did see when this came out it was very well received, and that slowly dropped away. I think the difficulty put some people off. However, I enjoy the challenge. I mean, I play Space Hulk and have beat Space Hulk, so perhaps I like difficult games more than I thought. One thing to remember with this one is it is not compatible with Steam Deck, and I have heard that people have tried it and it runs very poorly. Overall, this game really impressed me, and it's an engaging space opera that really succeeds in what it sets out to do. Just be prepared for that difficulty spike. We have another entry from Slitherine on the list, and that is of course Warhammer 40,000 Gladius Relics of War. We have a really popular quick review on this, so I'll make sure to link that in the description also if you want more detail. Essentially, in this one, 4 factions will engage in a brutal war for dominance over the planet's resources. In the first turn-based 4X strategy game Set in the Warhammer 40,000 universe, you will lead one of 4 unique factions. Now over time, of course, they have added to this with DLC, and I have no problem with that, although many people commented on the review that they thought that it was too much. To be honest, I was always happy to support this product as I had so many hours in it. I think currently around 380 hours on Steam. It's a wonderful 4X product that is very much focused on war. I mean, what do you expect set in this universe? I've also had some really great multiplayer games, including ones where me and Tom have linked up to take down multiple enemies. It's so much fun. Now, despite a very loud minority who weren't happy with the DLC, the Steam reviews back this up as it is rated overall very positive. I'm really pleased to see that the people who played this game actually enjoyed it. Also, Gladius is a really good experience on the Steam Deck. Now, with the amount of mouse that you have to use, you wouldn't think that it is, but my experience has been that it runs really well and is quite comfortable to play. This game can be picked up really cheaply in 2023, and what are you waiting for? Get down to Gladius Prime and fight for dominance of the planet. And we move onwards to Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader. Created in close partnership with Games Workshop, Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader is a story-rich classic RPG from Owlcat Games, the acclaimed developers behind Pathfinder: Wrath of the Righteous. And I was very fortunate to receive a key off Owlcat Games earlier this week when I talked about this list, and I've really been enjoying this title. Lore-wise, it's one of the best in the 40k universe. In the top-down RPG style is not really my favourite type of game, but I've been drawn in by the epic world building in this one. There is a huge amount of reading to do, so if that's not your thing, be wary of this game. However, for me, it's an absolute dream as I read a lot of 40k novels, especially the Horus Heresy series. It's a complicated and deep game, and honestly, I really appreciate the passion that's gone into this one. It's rated overall on Steam 77% mostly positive, and honestly I think that's far too low. A really great title that should be at the top of the games you want to pick up in the 40k universe. The top spot on this list goes to Warhammer 40,000 Battlesector, a game published by Slitherine. Now, I recently picked this one up and I've been unable to put it down. It's an excellent game, and I've also been enjoying the DLC, The Demons of Khorne. Warhammer 40,000 Battlesector is a fast-paced, turn-based strategy game set, of course, in the grimdark universe of the 41st millennium. You get to pick your force, develop your army, and field mighty heroes in the fight for victory using superior strategy, awesome abilities, and devastating weaponry. What more could you possibly want? I think the reason that this game had such an impact on me lately is because it's a real challenge. I found myself obsessed with playing the same scenario over and over till I could win. I fired up the Demons of Khorne DLC and I found myself fighting the Tyranids over and over until I won. I didn't get frustrated or bored, I just really wanted to keep playing. That is the sign of a great game. I also think that Warhammer 40,000 Battlesector is one of the best reflections of the actual board game. If I was going to make one small criticism, it's that the DLC is a little overpriced, especially when compared to Gladius. If any of you are looking for a battle, I would totally be up for it. I've got pretty good with the Demons of Khorne at this stage. Once again, this can be enjoyed on Steam Deck as it is fully verified. It's also great to see that Steam agrees with me with a 90% overall rating at very positive. Now for me, that really isn't the be all and end all for a game, as there are many games which have low Steam ratings that I actually enjoy. But with this list, it tends to be that the consensus agrees with me. So if you're looking for that really authentic Warhammer 40,000 experience, do go out and check out Battlesector today. So there we go, LT gamers, an absolutely epic Warhammer 40k list for you to sink your teeth into. Hopefully it's a really great companion for the Skulls Festival and throughout the rest of the year. Warhammer 40k games can be a little bit hit and miss, and if you're a fan of 40k, you do tend to overlook some of the criticisms, and some of the games on this list are a little bit mixed in their ratings, but I still enjoy them for what they are. But equally, there are some amazing titles here for us 40k fans to enjoy. Right, like, comment and subscribe, all of that fun stuff. I've been Luke from LT Gaming, and I'll catch you on the next one.